Hi, my name is Rochelle, and you're watching or listening to BoxBox F1 Pod. Welcome to the British Grand Prix episode. Super excited about one of the craziest weekends we've had this season so far, I think. We've had everything from crazy track conditions, to wild strategy calls, to mistakes, to excellent drives, to an out-of-this-world underdog story, to crash outs physically, literally, on track, all the rookies, emotional crash outs, hello Oscar, and just like a whole bunch more. A bit of transparency, I did record this on Sunday. However, the audio came out wonky, and I was planning to re-record today. / I was trying to fix the audio, but lucky me, Christian Horner got fired. So we have even more to talk about. So instead of trying to salvage that audio, I just decided I would redo everything in the spirit of Christian Horner being fired. So there's a lot for us to discuss today. And as always, we are going to kick things off with the digital warm-up. Lap 1. All right, lap 1, F1 rumor mill. Okay, yes, I'm aware. Christian Horner has been fired. And that is news and not rumor. And that is the most important thing we talk about today. However, I do think we first, and we will, do not worry, we will talk about it in excruciating detail. However, there are some rumors swirling about that I think are essential foundation for us to be able to properly discuss the Christian Horner situation. So, with that being said, we will kick things off with the F1 rumor mill, starting first and foremost with Max going to Mercedes. This rumor we heard on and off last year, right? Like when Toto was scrambling to sign someone before we knew about Kimi. He suddenly became like obsessed with Max Verstappen, but then it sort of died down. And then in the last week, the rumors sort of picked back up again. I personally still think it's absolutely outrageous to imagine Max at Mercedes because, yes, the car Red Bull is bad. The future seems rather bleak. However, culturally, Max is a terrible fit for Mercedes. So to me, I don't know, he seems to me like someone who cares about that as much, if not more, than the car. Yas might feel differently. And also, I don't know, do we have that much proof that the Mercedes next year is going to be like out of this world? Like, we can see that Red Bull will struggle because a lot of their key players have left. However, is Mercedes really the answer? Is it really the answer for Max to relearn a completely new car and completely new regulations with a completely new team and basically start from scratch? I don't think that makes sense. I don't think Max would think that makes sense. And also, Max has regularly said that he wants to start and finish his career at the same team. He is pretty freaking committed to Red Bull. I just cannot see him going to Mercedes. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be super wrong. But that's just the vibe I personally get from Max Verstappen. I will say that there's also the side of it from Mercedes. So Mercedes is like, their whole thing is like loyalty and commitment and blah, blah, blah. And that's why like Lewis's move last year was such a punch in the gut and out of nowhere because they value loyalty. And there's no one that has been more loyal to the Mercedes team, to the Mercedes brand, to Toto Wolff than George Russell. And on top of that, he's had a really good season. This is like his best season yet. He's leading the team as he was supposed to, although he does seem to have very little control over Kimi Antonelli. But he's doing the thing. Is he Max Verstappen? No. If it were up to Mercedes to choose between George Russell and Max Verstappen, they'd probably pick Max Verstappen, despite all their talk about loyalty and nonsense like that. Getting Max is expensive. Not only would he have to be paid more than George is making, he would have to be also bought out of Red Bull, which I think is like 120 million euros or something, on top of his salary. That's a lot of money. Mercedes might be willing to pay it. Having Max, I think a lot of people would be willing to pay it. But then there's like, right, who are they getting rid of? George Russell? that would make the most sense, but George has been loyal and had a great season. Would they get rid of Kimi? He's young. He's not had as good of a performance record as George, but it's his rookie season. And he was hired with promise, like, to build him up at Mercedes. So would they get rid of Kimi? I really don't think they would get rid of Kimi. I truly think if they're getting rid of anyone, it'd be George Russell. Because also, who in their right mind would put George Russell and Max Verstappen on the same team? Literally no one. You would have to be clinically insane to think that would be a good idea. Kimi and Max, great duo. Totally makes sense. George and Max, absolutely no sense. And they can't just dump. I don't know. I don't see them dumping either of those drivers, even though George's contract is currently up and he's in negotiations basically. George, for his part, has said that he doesn't think he's going anywhere, and he also doesn't care who his new teammate is. Which personally, I think is pretty rude to Kimi Antonelli, but whatever. He definitely cares that his teammate is not Max Verstappen. That's for sure. Fernando was asked about this, and he said that he's happy to provide Max with advice for a very large sum. So until Max's team is willing to pay it, he will keep his advice to himself, which made me laugh. And also, I can see Max at Aston. I can see him being great teammates with Fernando Alonso. If Lance will ever be willing to admit he doesn't want to be in Formula One anymore. Even though he did have a pretty good race on Sunday, but I still don't think he wants to be here. But anyway, the media storm that surrounded Max when he arrived in Silverstone, I felt so bad for that poor little introverted little man. There's a picture that looks like it was taken, it was like a fishbowl lens, and it's Max sitting at the end of a table just surrounded by reporters. Literally enveloped in a sea of reporters, and his face looks so sad. He does not want to be there. He doesn't want to answer any of these questions. In the media pen, he was asked if it's true, whether his reps are talking to Toto. He says he has nothing to add to his previous statements. I'm not really sure what his previous statements are. He gets also asked if he sees himself driving anywhere else, and he says to avoid any incorrect headlines, no, I don't see myself driving anywhere else. Max has also said that there's a lot of talk, but at the end of the day, the only one that decides his fate is him and his team. All of this to say, I do think Max's team is talking to Mercedes. So I think that's where all of this is coming from. I don't believe it's going far. I cannot imagine Max at Mercedes. I truly can't. But I guess we'll see. And that leads me to lap 2. Christian Horner gets fired from Red Bull. Not even beating around the bush. Not we've decided to part ways, it was a mutual decision. No, he was fired. He was literally sacked from Red Bull. He did not want to go, from what I can tell. The sequence of events seems to be that there was a board meeting yesterday. Board moved to move him out. I think he's on the board, or at least he was informed yesterday. This morning, he showed up to give a farewell speech to the Red Bull team and was out of Milton Keynes by 11 a.m. Reports suggest that he got very emotional, which I don't doubt. He posted on Instagram. I'll read his post and then we'll talk about why this has happened. After an incredible journey of 20 years together, it is with a heavy heart that today I say goodbye to the team I have absolutely loved. Every one of you, the amazing people at the factory, have been the heart and soul of everything that we have achieved. Win and lose, every step of the way we have stood by each other as one, and I will never forget that. It's been a privilege being part of and leading this epic team, and I'm so proud of our collective accomplishments and you all. Thanks to the amazing partners and fans who enabled us to go racing, your support has helped us grow the team from its humble beginnings to an F1 powerhouse that laid claim to 6 constructor championships and 8 drivers championships. Equally, thank you to our rivals with whom we would not be racing. There would be no racing at all. You've pushed us, challenged us, and enabled us to achieve accolades we never dreamed possible. The competition has made our every victory sweeter and every setback an opportunity to develop and grow. Formula One is a sport built on relentless ambition, passion, and respect. The rivalries have been fierce, but the mutual drive to innovate and raise the bar is what has made this journey so special. It's been an honor to be part of this incredible era of motorsport. I leave with an immense pride in what we've achieved, and also with what's in the pipeline for 2026, and huge respect for everyone who's made F1 the pinnacle it is today. Thank you, Christian. Damn, it's just sad, you know? No, I mean, I've seen everyone rejoicing about this, but I don't know, it's really sad. He was my age when they made him team principal of Red Bull. 20 years ago. That's so crazy. And honestly, no one can doubt that he brought this team to all of its successes. He's been the one and only team principal there. Every success has been down to him. He's clearly an excellent team principal. I think he's well regarded as a leader of an F1 team. I know obviously there's the thing that happened last year. But that's the thing, right? If at the time he wasn't let go and there was reason to, there was seemingly plenty of evidence, whether it's real or alleged evidence, whether it's real or not. They had every right to let him go and every reason, and no one would have questioned it. 18 months later is super strange. The team has been performing worse, but I don't think all of that performance stems to Christian Horner. I think right before his announcement about right before all that drama broke about his mistreatment of an employee allegedly, it was announced that Adrian Newey was leaving. It was announced that Jonathan Wheatley was leaving. So they lost a lot of key personnel. The performance has gone down significantly. Can that all be attributed to Christian Horner? I don't think so. Maybe he wasn't able to replace those positions as well as he should have. Maybe they just needed to vote someone out. Maybe there's another scandal coming and it will hit us in the next couple of days when we least expect it. He sounds shocked. Max posted about it saying, "From my first race win to four world championships, we have shared incredible successes, winning memorable races and breaking countless records. Thank you for everything, Christian." Seems a bit generic, but Max usually is on Instagram. The thing here is there's a lot of, since they've given no clear answer as to why Christian Horner was let go, there's obviously the rumor mill is swirling, and one of the theories is that this was Max's ultimatum to Red Bull to have him stay. If they get rid of Christian Horner, he will stay. That to me seems so not Max's personality. It's Yas's personality, but Max is still in control of his career, and I cannot imagine him sitting down and being like, "You want me? Dump this person." Like, whether he has beef with Christian or not, I don't think he does. Yas certainly does. This could have come from Yas. I just don't think it came from Max. And if it came from Max's camp, Max wasn't involved in that demand. I just don't. He's never implied that sort of personality, logic, reasoning, rationale, anything to be like, "Dumb Christian, you get me." The alternative is that Christian was dumped because they have already lost Max. Maybe Max has already agreed to go to another team, and because of that, Christian has been let go. But Christian, I don't know. It seems abrupt. It seems abrupt even for Christian. I feel like if he knew there was a scandal, his speech would have almost reflected that a little bit. Like, not because he'd admit to anything, but because he just seems confused and sad and choking up. And also, Max's team has put out a statement saying it's up to Red Bull to say why he's been fired. They could be lying about not knowing, but I have a feeling they're not. Whatever the reason, it's really causing people to speculate to the point where, like, Red Bull just needs to say why they fired Christian Horner. Because, like, because of his alleged behavior 18 months ago, they fired him now? They should have fired him then for that behavior. Because there's poor performance. Is that Christian Horner's fault? It just seems strange. Anyway, the reaction has been mixed. Actually, I think mine just might be mixed because I'm honestly sad about it, about Christian leaving. I think he's done a lot for the sport. behavior aside, right? Like, if they had fired him for that behavior, that would have happened 18 months ago. So if we put that to the side, I don't see the reason why they'd fire him. Like, he's made the sport what it is. He's also helped, like, transport it to new audiences globally. Like, he was, as I frequently described him, the center tire holder for the Real Housewives of Formula One. Drive to Survive is probably, first of all, foaming at the mouth at this drama. Second of all, realizing they're losing a key player in their documentary style. He's great for narration, he's great for drama, he's great for scenes like change your fucking car. You don't like it? Change your fucking car. Like, he brings drama, he brings humor, he brings perspective, he brings narration, he brings assholiness. Like, he gave a lot of depth to Drive to Survive. And I do think that those, second to Daniel Ricciardo, this is probably a huge loss for them. And Will Buxton, actually, I don't know if he's sticking around, but there's been some hilarious memes coming out. Alex Albon did the dance, the Indonesian boat racing dances where the guy's like, he has like a lot of swag. Alex recreated that dance, and someone superimposed that over the announcement that Christian Horner is leaving, which was funny. There was another one where I bet you think about me, the Taylor Swift song, and it just goes through every driver that was fired mid-season, and then ends with Christian Horner, which also, you get what you reap what you sow. You sow what you reap what you sow. Is that relevant to this? Whatever. There's also a stat going around that this is the first day since Kimi Antonelli and Ollie Bierman have been born that Christian Horner has not been team principal at Red Bull. Which, who comes up with these stats? Like, I just, like, what a dumb stat. But, like, also, wow, that's a long time. They're such babies. But anyway, I don't know why Christian was fired. I don't think Max demanded he be fired. I think if Christian was being fired for his behavior last year, it should have happened 18 months ago. It's weird that it's happening now, unless a whole bunch of other, like, evidence has come out and we're going to find out about it soon. The lack of information is not serving Red Bull well. It seems, like, super chaotic there. Lauren Mekies, who is currently the Racing Bulls team principal, has been promoted with immediate effect to team principal and CEO of Red Bull, which, holy shit, for Lauren Mekies. And I forgot who, but one of the big team people at Racing Bulls has been promoted to team principal there. And also important to note that Christian wasn't the only one fired. The chief marketing officer and director of communications were also fired. Two separate people, both guys. But anyway, not all is well in the house of Red Bull. And no one knows why. No one knows when we'll find out. And they announced this right before a 3-week break when we can't, like, demand information from poor Max Verstappen at a press conference. So, TBD. Literally TBD. All right. Lap 3 off-duty F1. Daniel Ricciardo turned, by the way, my friend was on Hinge, and one of her prompts is Formula One, and someone reached out and said their favorite driver is Ricky. Am I crazy, or has no one ever referred to Daniel Ricciardo as Ricky? Anyway, Daniel Ricciardo celebrates his 36th birthday at Wimbledon with his parents. He is looking slightly disheveled. He looks like he's been on a very, very, very extended gap year. He is giving backpacking energy. Not against the beard. Perhaps we should maintain a little bit. In other news, Fernando Alonso. Someone commented under Aston Martin post that they have a picture of Fernando Alonso hanging above their toilet, and Fernando Alonso responded to that comment saying, "Push, push." Unhinged behavior, absolutely diabolical, but hilarious. Lewis talked about the cultural differences between an English team at Mercedes and an Italian team at Ferrari, and he says the biggest difference is basically, like, lunch. Like, he's like, he was basically saying that his only, like, core food memory associated with Mercedes is that before Silverstone everyone would have, like, a curry, And in Ferrari, they're like always eating, and food is central to their existence. And he's like, sometimes I'll just walk into the engineering room to talk about something, and they're all gone because they're all at lunch. And he's just like, I'm like, hello, anyone? And he's like, this is the only team in F1 that does it. I mean, Alpine also takes lunch very seriously. He's been at English teams, I think, his whole career, and it shows. Expand your culture, Lewis. People like lunch in European countries. You know who never questioned lunchtime? Carlos Sainz. Just saying. Speaking of food, Franco Colapinto and Pierre Gasly were given a bunch of British snacks and told to rank them. And it was just peak snob. It was so funny. At one point, they got a bag of prawn cocktail crisps, chips, and Franco opens them and goes to sniff them, and Pierre's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. They're so snobby. It's so funny. The only thing I think they enjoyed were the Jaffa cakes, which are delicious, but like that, it made me laugh. Alex was on the Fast and Furious podcast, or doing an event where they were hosting, basically like a fan stage type thing, and he was asked if he does his own laundry, and he pauses for like 30 seconds and is like, I can. And he goes, Lily, I always say that to Lily, and she's like, all right, go on then. And then he's like, but like, I just kind of get confused. And then he says he's a proper diva, and then like he's always dropping like very random F1 logistics tea. Like, he's the one who told us about the WhatsApp group. He's the one who told us that there's certain people who coordinate transportation. He now is letting us know that there's actually several housekeepers that run in the F1 circles that are shared amongst the F1 drivers. And that person is the one who does his laundry. And that made me laugh. That they all just like, did this house cleaner just see a niche in the market and was like, I am going to market specifically to young Formula One drivers who have no idea how to run a household. There's plenty of them here. I can be booked and busy for the rest of my life. And she was right. If that was her train of thought, she nailed it. Also, a group of Formula One people, I think it was Alpine randomly. I don't know why. Franco and Pierre were there, I think. Alex Albon, James Vowles, Carlos Sainz showed up a bit later. Stefan Domenicali, I think a couple other people were basically at Downing Street to try to help reinforce the value F1 brings to the United Kingdom economy. Not just through Silverstone, through the Grand Prix every year, but also because so many factories are located in the UK. They provide jobs and et cetera, et cetera. So that was the point of it. Charles Leclerc also did a thing with GQ Sports, like the top 10 things you can't live without. And he mentioned that he loves sleep, like a lot. He loves sleep a lot, and that he beat his own record recently by sleeping over 12 hours, which is psychotic. And he also said that he needs prescription glasses but doesn't wear them, and then in the same breath said, I have perfect vision, which is slightly confusing and alarming on both counts. If he is driving around without prescription glasses and needs them, that's concerning. If he has perfect vision but says he needs prescription glasses but doesn't wear them, also a little strange. But that's Charles for you. All right, moving on, lap 4, trackside at Silverstone. All right, so McLaren livery they had a special one for Silverstone, and it made them look like a credit card. Like, it was chrome with black underneath, and then like accents of orange papaya. They looked like a credit card. I didn't even find them. Like, where's McLaren? Like, it says 1 and 2, but I don't fucking see them. And it's because they looked like a credit card. Roscoe was at Silverstone as usual, and he visited the Ferrari garage for the first time. The whole team took a picture with him, And then there was also a video posted of Roscoe and Leo Leclerc sharing a bowl of water. And the water that was poured in there was the like aqua panna water that's like with the glass bottle with like the orange label, which is crazy behavior to give to a dog. Like, why is this dog drinking water that costs that much money? It like reminds me of, no, it doesn't remind me of that. Lando had this was the first year with his own grandstand, which was popping off. There was a man there with a buzz cut, and he had dyed his hair to match Lando's helmet, so it had all the check marks and was neon green. There's a lot of like vomit green happening around Lando's brand. That's always been his brand, but like the grandstand was vomit green the whole time. Charles gave some cryptic information about his car. He said, "There is something more in the car that I've never talked about. And believe me, it's better I don't talk about it. Let's hope the solution will come soon." And Fred said, "I think I know what he's talking about, but we're keeping it to ourselves." Okay. Let's be cryptic then. We'll just go with that. During the driver's parade, there was a lot of Spanish-speaking driver content. Carlos was seen speaking to Franco, and then he got interrupted by Fernando, so he was talking to Fernando, and then Franco started talking to him again. And Franco looks like a yapper. Like Carlos was just listening. He seems like a great listener. He was very active listening. And Franco was just yapping away, just like blah, 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 like to the truck, on the truck, off the truck. Franco just kept going, but it was very cute. I just love seeing the older drivers be like little mentors parenting the little drivers. There was a really funny moment where Kimi and George were being interviewed. I think it was during the driver's parade. And the interviewer was like, "So Kimi, what's your tire strategy?" And he's like, "I think we're going to start on mediums." And you just see George's face, very media trained, very under control, but you do see his eyes sort of budge out of his head. Like, did you just give away our strategy on live television? I feel like on a regular basis, Kimi is giving George Russell like heart palpitations because he is just so unhinged and just blabs all the time. Speaking of Kimi being unhinged and blabbing, Ollie Bierman was doing the Fast and Curious podcast stage event thing. And as they were talking, they got a bunch of security guards to come over and pretend to arrest Ollie for the credit card theft of his former trainer that him and Kimi both admitted to, that Kimi admitted to. Then Ollie went on the podcast and was like, "Let me elaborate," and went into more detail. And so he pretends to run away from the security guards who are chasing him down, and he still has his microphone. And as he's running around the stage, he's like shouting numbers, like as of giving the credit card number to everyone. It was really funny. During another fan stage event, Max gets told they're about to play a game, and he goes, "Fantastic." And everyone starts laughing, and he goes, "I love these games. When I was a little kid, I used to say, when I become a Formula One driver, I want to do all these games," and like wags his finger, and everyone laughs. And I laugh, but at the same time, Max Verstappen loves these games. They're like his favorite activity because he's really good at them. Every video I see of him playing these games that they make them do, he's either getting super competitive, winning, or like gentle parenting Yuki about the answers that Yuki doesn't know a single one of. It's quite funny. And finally, Lewis was walking through the paddock wearing one of his amazing outfits as per usual. And a fan shouted from the sidelines, "I loved you in Cars." And Lewis does like half double take, like he goes and then like immediately looks straight back ahead. His head barely swivels, but you can tell he's slightly perplexed out of all of his accomplishments. This is the one that's being shouted out at him. Not his current Hollywood blockbuster that's taking the box office by storm. Nope, Cars. He was great in it. He's really good at playing himself in Hollywood. 10 out of 10. He's done it twice, and each time has been better than the last. some of the celebrities that were there, Kevin Magnuson was a guest at Kick Sauber, and he also visited Haas. There was videos of him hugging people and like catching up. It was really cute. And I put him in the celeb section because, let me tell you why. He was the star of the F1 movie. He was causing more chaos than Sonny Hayes at some points. Some other celebrities included Jeremy Clarkson, Tom Holland, Felicity Jones, Hannah Waddingham, Damson Idris, Vin Diesel, who, by the way, I always thought Van Diesel was spelled like Van Diesel. Like, I thought because he was in Fast and Furious, his stage name was a play on like car words. It is not Van Diesel, it's Vin Diesel. Whoops. Gordon Ramsay, always there, always pleasant. Idris Elba, and Chuck Bass, also known as, I forgot his real name, but Chuck Bass was there. Wow, why has his name slipped my mind? Anyway, what matters is Chuck Bass was there. Well, Ed Westwick, aka Chuck Bass. Tom Holland was there. I'm not quite sure where, because sometimes I saw him in the Williams garage where he was like getting in the car. Other times I saw him in the Mercedes garage during the race where he was watching. But then when he was asked, he said he was there to support Lewis. And it sounds like Tom Holland is very confused about what he's doing at the British Grand Prix, but everything he's doing, he's massively enjoying. So 10 out of 10 for him. Oh my God, I saw the cutest video of Tom Holland at Wimbledon. I guess he just popped on over after the British Grand Prix. And he was congratulating Carlos, and they were talking in the field, and they were making plans to go golfing, and it was just such a cute little adult boys make friends, or try to make friends, and they're like, yeah, we should go golfing, and then Carlos like shouts after him, and Tom Holland's like, yeah, for sure. It was so cute. Love that. Hannah Waddingham was part of the grid walk, and when Brundle approached her, he was like, excuse me, Hannah, can I have a word? And she's like, oh my God. And she's literally like dead. Like, she sees him and she's like, she literally goes, I can go home now. I have reached peak. Like, this is everything and more. She starts like bowing to him. She's like, thank you so much. This is all I wanted. I'm in front of royalty. I'm freaking. She's literally gagging at Brundle being in front of her. And Brundle is at a loss for words, because I think this is the reaction he dreams of every time he steps foot to do a grid walk, and it never happens. But Hannah loves that man. Brenda was like, I feel like I should be saying this to you. And Hannah's like, no, not me, you. And for anyone who doesn't know Hannah, she plays Rebecca in Ted Lasso, also played the nun in Game of Thrones, where she was like, shame. She was basically doing that today. So she's like, Brundle. Brundle was flabbergasted. Like, I think he was deeply overwhelmed, and it was hilarious. Jack Whitehall posted a video of, he was standing on, like, there was like the people that were there made like a little makeshift aisle for the drivers to come out from wherever they were in, and all the drivers are coming out, and I think Jack thought that was the end, so he tried to cross the line because he was trying to get to the other side, and as soon as he starts walking over, he runs headfirst into Lewis Hamilton, and he captioned it, almost took out a Ferrari. He was so embarrassed. Like, sometimes I'm like, is Jack Whitehall putting on the whole socially awkward, geeky, comedic act thing? Nope. I think it's 100% him. I think he is that socially awkward. It's great. And last but not least, Anya Taylor-Joy was there. She was in the Ferrari garage. And then in the F1 post-race show, Alex Albon was the first guest, and he like walks over and they start asking questions about the race, and he's just staring off to the side. He's like, so sorry, the girl from Queen's Gambit is right there. And he was just like, it's so distracted. I think she must have some sort of aura. Like, I can tell she has something, because she's like tall, skinny, crazy blonde hair, like she turns heads, but like she must also have some sort of aura that's making everyone just be like, wow, Anya Taylor-Joy. Also, she's in more things than Queen's Gambit. She was in Dune. She was in Emma. 10 out of 10 film, really launched her into the stratosphere. So I don't know why Alex Albon didn't reference Emma and reference Queen's Gambit, but whatever. All right. Anyway, that's it for the digital warm-up. On to analysis. All right. So moving on to analysis, starting with qualifying. Kimi gave Max a bit of a tow, which helped Max eventually get pole position. And Max, in his post-quali media pen interviews, was saying that he was grateful to Kimi and that he'll thank him by them going out for pasta together. And I thought that was so cute. No harm, no foul. No harm, no foul after last week's incident. For pasta. I just think that's so wholesome. Max also talked to a Brazilian interviewer after qualifying, and the interviewer was like, there's a phrase in Brazil, in Portuguese, that's basically like pulling rabbits out of a hat. Like, he always has a new trick up his sleeve. The interviewer was like, so how many rabbits do you have? And Max was like, I have many, many rabbits, and those rabbits have baby rabbits, so I'm pulling things out constantly. Ollie Bierman did crash at the pit exit in free practice, which caused a 10-place grid penalty. That's psychotic because of a red flag infringement, and he also cost him several penalty points. Max was behind Ollie when that happened. He's like, someone just crashed at the pit exit. Ha ha ha! What? Literally went ha ha ha. Anyway, Kimi Antonelli is also serving a 3-place grid penalty for causing the collision with Max in Austria. Franco took an engine change situation, and so he will be starting from the pit lane. And another notable moment during qualifying was Charles giving us a very profanity-laced sequel to I am stupid, and it was mostly like, I am fucking stupid, fucking dumb, fucking blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of swearing. It was really sad. Poor Charles. Poor Charles Leclerc. He needs to move on, but I just fear he will never move on because Ferrari has become his racing identity, and I don't know if he'd be able. It's hard for me to separate him from Ferrari. I don't know if he can, because it's also so intrinsically tied to his family experience, to his racing experience, to Jules, to his father. Like, all of it is tied together. So I fear he may sacrifice his career to stay at this team. And it's sad. All right, the starting grid is as follows: Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, Carlos Sainz, Kimi Antonelli, Yuki Tsunoda, Isaac Hadjar, Alex Albon, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson, Gabriel Bortoleto, Lance Stroll, Ollie Bierman, Nico Hulkenberg, and Franco Colapinto. Everyone, please note that Nico Hulkenberg is 19th. And since Franco is starting in the pit lane, Nico is starting last on the grid. 19th. All right, on to the race. So first, let's quickly talk about the weather. For the first time in forever, I was wrong about everyone predicting the weather wrong. Turns out this time, when everyone said there's 10 minutes until rain, there in fact was 10 minutes until rain. But before that, there was also like the track was in a very weird conditions. Like, it looked mostly dry, but upon further assessment, the last two corners were not dry at all, and there was still quite a bit of spray, which caused worse visibility just generally around the track. So picking tires was rough for people. It was too wet for slicks, but it was too dry for proper wets, so it was just like a challenging gamble. There was a very strange moment where George, who started in 4th, randomly decided to throw balls to the wall with his strategy and was like, let's switch to dry tires. Big fucking mistake, because everyone was like, maybe he knows something we don't. He didn't know something we didn't know. He just did that. I don't know why. And he got fucked. It ruined his race, honestly, switching to dry tires. But anyway, it did rain for a bit later on, to the point where a safety car was issued until the rain was able to die out a little bit. Because the visibility was just so bad, it would have caused so many issues. It still caused some issues, but and then the race ended completely dry. Matt and Tommy, I saw a clip of them talking about, they were there and they were like, what a wonderful race. We started wet from the rain, then we got sunburnt, and then we got wet again, and then we got sunburnt again. Quite a chaotic energy. There was also like, just like everyone kept predicting rain, and I kept being like, whatever, and then they were all right. But like when George, and like right before he switched his tires, was like, oh damn, the rain is coming. Right after he switched his tires, like, oh damn, the rain is coming. I'm like, I don't believe you, George. Maybe it's sweat. But it was rain, and he had fucked up. My favorite weather-related commentary was from Brundle when he said, I'll tell you what he said. It's like waiting for an avocado to ripen. You never know how long it'll take, and you always just miss it. In reference to never being able to predict when the track will be dry. One of his otter metaphors. But what else do you expect from Brundle? Always whipping out the craziest shit. Also, has he ever eaten an avocado? I mean, I guess he's right. Like, sometimes you feel like your avocado is just hard, and then all of a sudden it's mush. But also still a strange metaphor, but you know what? His point got across. The biggest losers of, not losers because like losers, but like literally losers, like the ones who lost the most throughout this race were the rookies. Gabriel was like crashed and then like teased us with a potential safety car, but then, oh no, he's moving again. And we're like, wow. But he was making his back to the grid, presumably to change his wing because it was just like flying off. But he didn't make it there. He ended up having to pull over later down the track, and a virtual safety car was issued for him. And he retired. Liam went into the barriers. The commentators literally went, oh, a racing bull in the barriers. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Liam. And it was Liam. Isaac crashed into the wall badly because he literally could not see what was in front of him. There's nothing he could do. Kimmy and Charles fought. Kimmy overtook Charles, but then he had to retire. Basically, the only rookie left standing at the end of this race was Ollie Bierman. He was like, you aren't taking me out during my home Grand Prix, and he chugged his way to P11. Otherwise, it was just like rookie death. It was just like clean wipeout of every rookie on the grid. So go Ollie. You made your kin proud. Not kin, your peers proud. Anyway. All right. Other key moments included Lewis Hamilton's race, who was actually having a pretty good race, but once he got behind Nico Hulkenberg, he couldn't get past him. And that just speaks to Nico Hulkenberg's race. Charles Leclerc had a terrible race. Just kept getting worse and worse. Like nothing was going his way. He even crashed into Carlos at one point on accident, causing Carlos to go into the gravel. Both of them still finished the race. And it wasn't shown on television, so it kept being referenced, and everyone was like, what? But it did happen. Lance was actually having a really good race. He was in third for a bit, and I was like, is Lance gonna finish on the podium? Because everyone's like, oh, there's a trickle of rain. Lance is about to whip out the race of his life, and he actually was doing pretty well. He ended up finishing fifth and gave a pretty sad radio message where they were like, great job. I think P7 actually he finished. Yeah, P7. And they were like, great job pulling into P7. He's like, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever driven. But yeah, woohoo, seventh. Pierre finished sixth, which is incredible for Pierre. I'm very happy for him. He had a hell of a race. Moving on to Oscar. God, what do we say about Oscar? So basically, Max was leading. Oscar overtook him. Now Oscar's leading the race, and there's no stopping Oscar. And then we had that safety car for the rain situation. And on the restart, Oscar braked so hard. He went from 217 kilometers an hour to 52 kilometers an hour in one go. And Max like shot ahead of him, and everyone was like, Max overtaking under safety car conditions? The fuck? Is he gonna get penalized? And then Max spun as he was trying to stop himself from overtaking, and then ended up in P11. So then Oscar gets issued a 10-second penalty, and Oscar is fucking furious. Like, he is infuriated by this. I don't fully blame him because 10 seconds is a bit harsh. And we saw a very similar situation with George in Canada, and he didn't get penalized at all. Granted, he did not go from 217 to 52 miles in one break, but still, there was no punishment there. Even Max afterwards, even though he's the one who spun and like suffered the most from it, was like, it's a little strange that his penalty was that harsh. Like, this has happened to me several times and never has a penalty been issued to this level. Oscar, for his part, after he served his 10-second penalty, so he pitted first, served the 10-second penalty, and then they brought Lando in, who's now leading the race. And Oscar just was unable to create a 10-second lead. Like, not his fault at all. And then they were almost matched when he came out of his safety car, out of his pit stop. He was like 4 seconds behind, but it just was not feasible for him. Oscar did get on the radio after that pit stop to serve his penalty and was like, so if you guys think this penalty is unfair, you could swap us and we can race. The answer was obviously no. I don't think there was any harm in him trying. And like Lando whines and bitches on the radio all the time. He's like, let us switch, give me help. And then Oscar does it once and everyone's like, what a bitch. He did it in such a interesting way where he like basically like, if the situation had happened with Max, for example, instead of Oscar, where he started the 10-second penalty and then Max ended up ahead, McLaren would be throwing up a storm, trying to get the penalty rescinded, trying to do whatever it takes. They would be arguing that the penalty is unfair. However, the person that benefited the most from this penalty is Lando, their other driver. They're not going to switch them when Lando has virtually done nothing wrong, and doesn't warrant to lose that position. And Oscar did do something wrong. Was his punishment more severe than it should be? For sure. But he still did something wrong. So obviously didn't let them do that, and he finished behind Lando in second. He was furious. I have never seen Oscar show this much emotion of any kind. And I do think he's getting a lot of shit for something that Lando does. He didn't even do it to the level that Lando does. In fact, he was giving Max Verstappen. He like in park firm, he was asked about it and he was like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get in trouble, but congratulations to Nico, basically. And in the cool down room, Nico was like, so did you and Lando fight? He's like, nope, got a 10-second penalty. Apparently, you can't break under safety cars anymore. Well, no, you can't, Oscar. You can't break under safety cars. And then Nico was like, oh, right. Well, is that what Max spun? Because that like affected all of us in the back as well, which is not what Oscar really wanted to hear. And then Lando came in like all chipper, carrying Nico's crash helmet. And he's like, Nico, you forgot this. And Nico's like, forgot that? Why do I need it? I've never been here before. It was cute. And meanwhile, Oscar is just like steam out of his ears in the corner, like infuriated. And honestly, I'm glad we saw emotion from Oscar. We were all getting very concerned that he was fake. At least I was. Like, I'm like, show some emotion, sir. It was a bit over the top. I'll give him that. I think it was a combination of feeling slighted, which I think he was in terms of severity of penalty, and also not having seen the replays, and also having just what he feels like just narrowly missed out on the win, which he did. Probably with a mix of like kicking himself for causing this, even if he didn't think it was fully his fault at the time. I think in hindsight, he will see that he should have been penalized. Again, not to the extent that he was, but like, I don't know, he was a really sour loser. But I like seeing, he truly, like, it was sour, but it was also like composed. Like, he reminded me of Max in these situations. The words he was saying, the way he was acting, like all of it. And then when he walked out onto the podium, he literally walked straight, like the straight man emoji with like no expression. He like walked over and then like did like half a wave to the crowd. And then when he got his trophy, he lifted it like not even waist height. He just went, woohoo. That was it. Damn, he was really all up in his feels. And I'm not supposed to love that, but I do kind of love that because I rather this and be like, oh, well, this was unfortunate, but we shall move on. I do hope that this is like the extent of the emotionalness, not like the only time, but like it doesn't go beyond that, because I still want him to win the championship, and I think he needs his cool, calm, collected head, and I think he needs the way he's been racing before. Like, he can't be making these little mistakes, because like what I think was happening, and I could be just be Oscar apologizer, but I think that Oscar was trying to do just like a tiny, like, like slow down just a bit so that the person behind you doesn't know when you'll go fast, and then like zoom out. I think that's what he was trying to do. And then a combination of the weather, the track conditions, the cold breaks, like all of that made him overdo it. And he said after the race that it was a coincidence. Like, he pressed the brakes at the same time as the lights went out, and he didn't press it after the lights went out. It just happened to happen at the same time, which could be true. But at the same time, you braked a lot. To go from 217 to 52 is insane behavior, no matter what you thought was happening. So I do think there was probably a little bit of all of these things, and that's what probably makes it so rough for him. Lando had Max obviously had his race compromised by Oscar, but he was fine with it. I think he's just literally given up. He's like, whatever, throwing this year away. We'll start again next year, wherever he ends up. But like, he's just resigned. He's like, yep, spun, ended up in the back. But Max went from 11th to 5th, which is an impressive save from being forced to the middle of the grid. Lando honestly was kind of just there and didn't make any mistakes, which should be commended on its own, especially for Lando, who frequently makes mistakes and freaks out. He kept his head, he was calm, he was chill, he maximized on the suffering of others and made the most of the situation, which ended up winning him his home Grand Prix, which is amazing, great for him. I wouldn't say, a lot of people are saying it's like his best drive ever. It's not his best drive ever. It's his best like result ever. But it wasn't because he drove so well. It's because Oscar made a mistake. And like, another thing is, if he had gotten a 5-second penalty, we would have actually seen Oscar and Lando race. But that was also robbed of us, and instead we saw Oscar serve a penalty and just not be able to catch up to Lando. But there's a lot to be said for not making any mistakes in conditions that are as tricky as they were on Sunday. So kudos to Lando. The only thing I have to say is, after the race, he was like, Oscar put up a good fight. You didn't fight Oscar. I don't know why you'd say that. Like, you're making it sound like you purely won this entire race by merit, by racing exceptionally and having this like out of this world racecraft and like all this stuff. Like, celebrate your home race win, for sure. Celebrate not making any mistakes, celebrate all that. But like, you could acknowledge that like you're there for a specific reason, and you could have still been there. I'm not saying that, but like, we won't know, would we? I'm a real Lando hater, aren't I? Anyway, really happy for him. I still cried when he won his home race. It still made me tear up. And him with his mom was really cute. There was one incident with his dad where they were all celebrating in park for him, and they were right next to Kick Sauber, who were cheering and shouting and jumping, and they were right next to McLaren. And Lando's dad looks over, and as they're chanting Nico, 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 he goes, Lando, Lando, Lando. And it's just like really unnecessary. Like, you know why they're happy. This is Nico's first podium, but your son will win a world championship at one point. Calm down. But his mom is really adorable, still giving high school art teacher. Now, if anyone's results today were earned on merit, it was Nico Hulkenberg, who started 19th and finished 3rd. And he overtook Lance on merit, and he defended against Lewis, so Lewis couldn't overtake him. He earned that 3rd position so hard. And I just love this for him, and I love how happy everyone was for him, and he's just happy the whole time. His wife posted a picture of his daughter cheering him on at home. She looked really cute. Gabby got on the radio and was basically like, you did it, man. Like, I'm so happy for you. You're such an inspiration. You're a legend. Like, all this stuff. And then he was like, I'll see you at the podium. And he was like, I'll see you at the podium. And then as Nico's like getting up to celebrate on his car, Gabriel runs over and they hug. And like, my favorite thing is when they clasp the side of the helmet when they're congratulating each other, and it just looks so affectionate and cute. Max waved to him when he was still in his car, like when they were driving past each other, and then he went all the way to Park Ferme to congratulate Nico. Honestly, I did not know they were that close. Like, I didn't realize the friendship was that deep. But Max, I've never seen Max happier for anyone in my life. He was over the moon that Nico had gotten third and then he was on the podium. He even dedicated a grid post to Nico Hulkenberg. Like, he's like, my race could have been better, but like, amazing job, Nico. He congratulated him on the radio. He congratulated him in his interviews. He went over to the media, but like, he was all over it. And apparently, rumor has it that he offered to fly him back to Monaco and stop in Nice along the way to celebrate. And that just makes me so happy. Like, that just makes me so happy. I did not realize they fucked like that. I did not realize they like were that deep. And I love that. Like, I thought I knew all of Max's friends, but I was wrong. And I hope Damson Idris was watching this, because damn, you thought Max had no friends. Max just flew Nico Hulkenberg to Nice to celebrate. He has friends. And then Nico was saying, like, Max is the best. We have such huge respect for each other. Like, what a great, great guy. Just love it. Kevin Magnussen was there and he looked so happy for him. Carlos was saying that Nico has always been a top 5 driver for him and that his results don't actually indicate what a great driver he is. Kick Sauber had no champagne in their inventory, so they got a bunch of champagne dedicated to them from Mercedes and Aston Martin. And I saw the video of Mercedes bringing over like a bag of champagne to them, and the girl from Mercedes and the girl from Kick Sauber both started jumping up and hugging each other, and the whole garage is singing Nico's on fire, your defense is terrified. You know, it's a song. Nico's on fire, your defense is terrified, Nico's on fire, da 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 da. That song. They were all singing it. They were all so happy. It just made me very happy. And then there was a clip that his wife posted of him coming home and his whole family and all his friends being there to welcome him and cheer, and they were singing the same song. His wife looked so hot. Like, she was like, Nico was getting some that night. Anyway, the only thing that I have to say against the way the celebrations went for Nico is that no one sprayed him on the podium. Oscar was in his field. He just sprayed the like constructor representative. Lando was spraying the world and the constructor representative. Nico got like a tiny bit of spray from Lando, but it was like at the tail end of his bottle, and he kind of just walked into Lando's bottle versus actually being sprayed. He just like walked clean across the stage to go spray his team below. Nico left that stage dry. And that just makes me so upset. Oscar has been in a position where his success is being muted by a grumpy person on the podium. He knows what it feels like. I don't know why he would do. I know he was all up in his feels, but like, Oscar, this is Nico's potentially only time on a podium. It just broke my heart a little bit that no one sprayed him, but Nico made the most of it. All right, results of the day. Nico Hulkenberg, without a shadow of a doubt, won driver of the day. I have zero complaints about that, and in fact, I encourage it. I voted for him. Honorable mentions: Max Verstappen going from 11th to 5th, Ollie Bierman being the only rookie to finish the race, Pierre Gasly finishing 6th, Lando winning his home race. I don't know if that warrants driver of the day, but lots of good moments. And Dick in the Box, I'm so sorry, will have to be Oscar, because that is an aggressive break, no matter the situation, or you might be an accidental Dick in the Box, so you're still a Dick in the Box. Race results are Lando, Oscar, Nico, Lewis, Max, Pierre, Lance, Alex, Fernando, George, Ollie, Carlos, Esteban, Charles, Yuki. And then DNFs include Kimi, Isaac, Gabby, Liam, and then did not starts include Franco, who didn't make it past the formation lap and no one even noticed until halfway through the race. The driver standings are Oscar with 234, Lando with 226, Max with 165. So Oscar is still leading the World Championship, but barely. He's barely hanging on. I think it's 8 points ahead. He really needs to get his shit together. and perform the way he did at the beginning of the season. So Lando has 226, Max has 165, George has 147, Charles 119, Lewis 103, Kimi 63, Alex 46, Nico 37, Esteban 23, and Isaac 21. The constructor standings are McLaren with 460 points, Mazel Tov McLaren, Ferrari with 222, Mercedes with 210, Red Bull Racing with 172, Williams with 59, Kick Sauber with 41, Racing Bulls with 36, Aston Martin with 36, Haas with 29, and Alpine with 19. And that's it for the British Grand Prix. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing all the tea. We had so much stuff on track. We had Christian Horner. There was so much going on. What a race. What a weekend. We've got about 3 weeks off before the next race in Spa. I will be releasing at some point my review of the F1 movie sometime in between now and Spa. And in the meantime, make sure you follow at BoxBoxF1 Pod on social to keep up in between races. Share, subscribe, get more boxes involved. We always love more people. And otherwise, until next time, Box.